That's another picture of his little crystal converters. He just boiled up the materials, melted them on his kitchen stove, and pour them into a mold. Sometimes the molds were cut apart, a big bullet or something, or a tennis ball. You know, it's very low tech. And then as it was cooling, it's subjected to a strong electromagnetic field, which aligns domains, and then after that, just puts out this little trickle of electricity indefinitely. And that kind of harks back to a man named T. Townsend Brown that some of you may have heard about if you've read any of Paul LaViolette, Dr. Paul LaViolette's books. That he had what he called petrovoltaics, you know, measuring a little bit of electricity output from some rocks. Now, here's another area that you probably find it hard to believe that there may be some different quality of electricity. I mean, electricity is electricity, isn't it? Well, I'm not the one that can do the engineering experiments to back this up, but people who've investigated this very deeply, like Dr. Peter Lindemann and Jerry Vassilatos, and their books are available, about the fact that Tesla's what he called radiant energy was actually a different quality of electricity. Maybe in some of the writings it talks as if this is something that's split off from the current, and what he wanted to do was power everything in our world on this, and then it's safest. Okay, well there was a man in the well, I'll get to Ed Gray.
Jeane, at 3 o'clock there will be a demonstration of the radiant energy.
Oh, great! A demo of radiant energy at 3 o'clock. I'll be there with the camera. Great, yeah. Well, and the guys at Borderland Science Research Foundation back, I don't know, 20 years ago or something, were doing experiments and showing that there is such thing, and they were calling it cold electricity. So some people are calling it cold electricity, and then it's a safer form. If that's possible, but boy, wouldn't that be wonderful to be running our appliances on something like that. So anyway, you've probably heard about Nikola Tesla and his war of the currents with Thomas Edison. You know, Thomas Edison, the DC man, and because Thomas Edison already had invented and built all this direct current technologies, and Nikola Tesla coming along and saying that, well, we can do just the same and more with alternating current, and Edison going around electrocuting dogs to prove how dangerous AC is, and it got pretty rough, this war of the currents, but Tesla won that one, and his AC current was chosen for a Chicago World's Fair and so on, and of course it's what we used. But what you don't usually hear about is the second war of the currents that Tesla lost. You know, he wasn't able to, by the time that he developed his knowledge about the radiant energy, I think it was probably mostly past the time when he was accepted in the engineering circles that he was accepted for at the height of his fame, and Morgan, I think, had something to do with putting out the story of Tesla as just a hopeless dreamer who fed pigeons, which is what he did, but, you know, okay, you can be an eccentric and still be brilliant. But when I first started looking into this field, I looked up Tesla in, I think it was Asimov's Encyclopedia of Science, and I was really appalled at the little paragraph that was in there about Tesla, and it focused on his phobias and his germ phobias, and that he used a pile of napkins in a restaurant, and that, you know, he fed pigeons in his later life, and nothing about his tremendous accomplishments. I was beginning to wonder. Oh, this is Ed Gray, a photograph of putting a lit electrical bulb into water, and that's why we say don't try this at home, because what they were using was this cold current, and so nobody got electrocuted. And I heard, I've heard of this cold electricity from other angles too. There's a man in Austria that I wrote about in the Coming Energy Revolution, Johann Grander, and in his experiments to understand magnetism, and his goal was toward the healing end of things, and he's always experimenting with magnetism. But in the process of all his experimentation, he developed a magnetic motor generator of some sort. And I saw a picture of somebody had thrown a hairdryer into a tub of water that was running on the current from his generator, and they could just, the water was spraying up of this tub. And again, don't try this at home. You get electrocuted, you won't be here. So there's something unusual going on for sure that I think should be investigated. And what you all are doing here is down to earth and ready now, and that's so important. And I'm not for a minute suggesting that you run off and change your focus to something that is a lot farther out if you're not inclined. But if you are inclined to just look into these, just for the sake of expanding the possibilities of what future generations might have to work with. Maybe it won't be in, well, my lifetime is not that much left on it, but I would certainly hope in my daughters and sons' lifetime that some of these, what's now called exotic and impossible emerging science is put to use. So that's a book by Peter Lindemann. I was thinking, well, I've been putting somebody's book cover in there. I didn't put Breakthrough Power in there, and I also should have put James Roby's water car book. I'll mention that, but anyway, that's for sale out there. Excellent history and up to date of your field. So anyway, this is somebody how I would recommend reading if you're interested in learning more about cold electricity. Magnetic motors, how many hold open to the possibility that someday that we'll be powering something by use of magnetism? Good proportion, yeah. Yeah, there's so much to be said about this field, because there's a lot of controversy, a lot of attempts that didn't pan out, but you know, I also believe that people like this Al Francoeur here will make it. He has a variation he's working on right now, which is not the one in the picture, but it's what he calls his interference disk generator. And so it doesn't rely on rotating magnets or anything. It's the disk that interferes with the magnetic field that rotates. And the way he's figured it out has overcome some of the usual problems. So there isn't that problem of the back electromotive force, apparently. I know that's always the claim, and you're probably thinking, well, when are we going to see this? And I sure hope that it will be soon.